Hey, Michael, welcome to the SABM podcast.
Thank you for having me, Scott. It's good to see you.
Yeah, man. And we recently reconnected here a couple of months ago. And I remember when we first connected back in, I think it was like January of 2020. And you're still here.
Uh,
Your
Still
business is
here.
still here, and excited to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, you know the statistics, whatever percent make it through 1 year and 2 year and 3 year. And I'm on number 8 and the business has been around 24. So we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, well, most importantly, your business is tied to events, right? And obviously
Yes.
in 2020, the great year of COVID, events shut down. And I just want to kind of, if we could just start with that, because I think
Yeah.
for a business, first of all, to make it and doing what you do to make it through that stretch of time, I think is remarkable. And so maybe just kind of share certainly an overview of what you do, but I'd love to maybe just start with, yeah, just what was it like, and how did you make it to where you are today?
Yeah. Well, I'll go through. So we're an event business and 2020 was really something for us. And I will give all the credit to the US Navy for helping us get through it. And it goes back to plebe summer and plebe year and uh, prototype training in nuclear power school and being on the boat and just the realization of not giving up and having a high tolerance for suck, as they say. And so we were going into 20, we were going to the year with a $10 million budget, and my CFO is a real, Wall Street sophisticated, older than me. I'm 60. He's older than me, very experienced. And he got on the phone or got on a Zoom and saw what was happening, and our revenue was going from 10 million to zero, like literally zero. And he said, Mike, there's a with everything he had done in private equity and venture capital working for big banks, and he's like, I got to tell you right now, I'd give us a 95% chance of going out of business. There might be a 5% chance if we do the following three things like immediately. And you know 5% chance, work hard and give it a crack. So we were not, I think a lot of people would have, and certainly my wife was like, why don't you just fold up the tent? Like, why are you gonna kill yourself to try to make this work? But that's the challenge. And we had at that time 10 franchisees. Their life, this was their business too. And they were all thinking they were going to go under. Everybody thought they were going to go under. So we gave it a good old Navy try and pushed. And we were smart that we did a lot of things very quickly early in COVID. We didn't wait for it to pan out before making changes in our expenses, or we shed assets, we got out of leases, really cut down to the bare bones. And between PPP and we also got a restaurant revitalization fund grant. We were able
Hmm.
to make it out. And the best part is all of our franchisees survived. So coming into 2022, we just put the key back in the company, turn the ignition, company started back up. And now we'll end this year with kind of 16 franchisees and about three or four starting in January, February, March. But we made it through just by, I would say, not giving up. Uh, we got a bit lucky with all these grants, and thank goodness for Uncle Sam paid for our service academy graduate, or so that was a good thing that came from the government. And all these people that are all anti-government all the time, I wouldn't say that's true. Like the government paid for my college, and the government, I had a job, and the government did do these grants which got us through, and all of our partners. So but it was a struggle. It was really scary.
Yeah, well, yeah, I remember that, and you going through that at least when COVID first started, and I was excited to hear back from you a couple of
Yeah.
months ago. I was like, I'm like, wow, I was always wondering, how you guys made out, and so, but here you are. So tell us about Wild Bill's Soda.
So I'll give you the origin story is I had a coming out of the academy, going to business school, and then in business school. being surrounded by lots of entrepreneurs, decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I had one of those classic moments where I out of business school, I went into consulting. I worked for a client, and a actual business opportunity came out of a client engagement. And my partner and I started a business. Technically, it's called a 12-year overnight success. So
Okay.
we did. It looked like it was failing. First 7 years we went through millions of dollars. We did friends and family. Um, Angel investors, 2 rounds of venture capital, a recap with a private equity firm, and a sale to a public company. So it was, harrowing all the way through. And after selling the company, kind of really sitting and saying, what do I want to spend my time on and focus on? And it was like you helping veterans. What you're doing is helping veterans and sharing. And so I did the philanthropy thing for a while. But I really liked actually running, starting, being involved in businesses. And I was at the Boulder Crest Retreat Facility in Virginia, uh, serving Mission Barbecue, um, and meeting a company of Marines who were reuniting after coming back from Afghanistan. And with a friend, we got to meet these guys who were gen they were either unemployed or underemployed, but none of them were in a great job. And at that retreat said, let's do something for these folks. And it's like, what are we going to do? Like, well, why don't we should start a company and just like hire these people. And then it's like, well, starting a company is hard. Let's buy a company. And
Hmm.
so we found, we started out franchising as a Wild Bill's franchisee, and franchised the state of Texas, proved that the model worked. And we hired the first 4 people we hired were from that reunion. They're 4 Marines.
Hmm.
Um, and and at the point of bought the business, we it was a very seasonal and regional business in the Northeast, and we took it nationwide. So we opened up in Texas, we opened up in San Diego, we opened up in Chicago, opened up down in Tampa. And what the business does is it was kind of secondary to just the mission of let's find a we wanted something that was operationally intensive, that used the kind of skills of the folks that we were employing. Um, and the business, it sounds funny. It kind of is it's kind of an interesting, odd little business, but it's a good business, which it's been around for 24 years. And the model is we go to fairs, festivals, conventions, do about 500 events a year all around the country. Think Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, think Ohio State Fair, think San Diego Comic-Con. And in those venues, we build this big activation, which is a Wild West stand, which is in my background for people can see. Um, and they're like hand built. The founder built the first one out of wood, and but it has soda taps on the side. And the interesting part is he would get the co-brands from the events. So if we're going to go to New York Comic Con, we'll get the logo for New York Comic Con. People buy these really high quality mugs, and they get unlimited premium craft soda for the day. And in addition, if you buy the mug and use it for the day and take it to any other event, you pay $10, you get unlimited refills. And it turned into kind of a real little culty kind of thing where people buy these mugs and travel all around the country. And so, at New York Comic Con, we saw mugs from San Diego and mugs from Texas, and people collect these and travel with them and use them. And so we have really good repeat business. We have about 100 convention centers that we're in around the country. We also do outdoor events. Um, and it's a seasonal business. So most of our franchisees, start up in the spring and end at the end of the winter. Some do in San Diego, it's year round, and parts of Florida, it's year round. But most places, it's a kind of a seasonal business. And we keep getting invited back to the same shows and more shows year after year. It's car shows, auto shows, comic cons, animes, Renaissance fairs. Um, we do air shows all around the country. Um, and the initial veterans that we hired after coming out of COVID, they became franchisees. And so the model is now most people are coming in right as franchisees, but we did have a initial period where people were employees opening a market and then becoming franchisees. Um, but we hope to, we hope to add, to impact a lot of people over the next, 10 years, just, add in a nice clip. And um, you know, it's a fun, interesting business if you don't mind working weekends and you like being, we're with eclectic groups of people. So we do motorcycle rallies and, you got to like kind of, I think our franchisees are common that they really like the customers and they really like the events. And then we like working together as a franchisor and franchisees. So that's the story.
Yeah, yeah, pretty cool story. And so you guys started as franchisees and then
Yep.
kind of got to learn the business and if you liked it and how it worked. And then, it sounds like, you had the opportunity then to purchase the business and then even bring along some of those initial employees who kind of then became their own franchisees and were able to own their own businesses. So everybody kind of moved up, from up the ranks, from the original crew that joined. Pretty cool.
Everybody got a promotion.
Everybody got a promotion.
Yeah. And we had two. So, we're into it for the people and we're doing it for the mission. And so, does everybody become a franchisee? Depends on if it makes sense for them. We have one one of our Marines who has gone into private equity. So he used it as a stepping stone into private equity. And then we have another Marine who's just become a serial entrepreneur. So um, he has opened a couple of businesses, but used the Wild Bill's experience of kind of being entrepreneurial and scrappy. And we're mentors to him and keep in touch. But it's more about the people that we work with and the kind of culture that we build together that's important.
Yes. So walk us through a day in the life of a franchisee. I guess, what do their territories look like? How big are they?
Yep.
Like what are they doing on a day-to-day basis? If you could just kind of describe that to the audience.
Yeah. So as with everything, it totally depends. So there's the new people, and then there's so we have franchisees who've been with us kind of over 10 years. Their lives are very different just because the person who has a market with a business that's been doing it 10 years, it's very rinse and repeat. So they're doing the same events for the most part, year after year, with a little of adding new things. Um, but the work is on the weekends. It's a combination of indoors in convention centers and outdoors at fairgrounds and other venues. It's typically a setup on the day before the event. So a lot of events are just the weekend. So you're setting up Friday, breaking down Sunday night. Some events, we have a big Comic-Con in Salt Lake City opens on Thursday. So we're like setting up on Tuesday, Wednesday. So sometimes it could be, longer than just a weekend. Um, but in general, it's weekend work plus or minus a day on either side. And as I said, generally starts in for most parts of the country in April or May is where it really gets going. And so a lot of our franchisees, they will work very hard for the summer is the summer and fall are the best. And then they really either shut down, slow down, or take time off. So um, I used to not like seasonal businesses. And actually, as long as you understand it and kind of are okay with basing planning your schedule around it, it is kind of neat that you work hard for a number of months, but then you really take time off. Um, Within our franchisees, we have folks who operate in the business and on the business. So we have both types. The on the business have more territory, more stands, and they have people on salary, usually a manager who's running and they're doing multiple events in a weekend. On the other end, we have the people who have one or two stands who are doing most of the work. They're in the business doing the work. Um, but it's kind of a mix of models. On average, the average franchisee has three stands with us, so they're and if they're adding a stand, they're bringing in a manager, turning it into more of a working on the business kind of situation. Um, in the off season or when you're first getting started, there's a lot of work to apply to events, figure out. So we use, as you'd imagine, really good AI because we have years and years and years of experience on what's a successful event. So we're able to produce
Okay.
events in, like we're opening up right now in expanding in Utah and expanding in Vegas right now, and expanding in San Diego. And so we have taken the events that we've done there, taken the examples of events that we've done in other parts of the country and helped find events like those in those markets. But the initial part is the prospecting and reaching out to promoters, talking to the venue. So in the venue, you have to get it. You have the event promoter want you in. Then you want to have the venue. San Diego Convention Center says, "Yeah, we'll have you in." And then there's a concessions company within the venue that says, "Yeah, we'll let you in." And then half the time, either Coke or Pepsi is in there, and so you have to talk to them too. So it's a harder sale than you would think.
Mhm.
But we've just been doing it a long time, and we have a lot of relationships, and we're already in the convention centers in these geographies. We've just been servicing them from the Northeast. We literally so corporately we still do events and we fly our staff. The benefit for a franchisee is and the better part for us is, we have several events in Portland, Oregon that we service out of the Northeast. We're already in the convention center, got a great relationship there. If we had a franchisee in Portland, they wouldn't incur the expenses that we do to execute on those shows. Um, but you're doing the prospecting, you're doing the PMS on the equipment and the training on the equipment and hiring a lot of part-time staff for a business like this. So hiring and training the staff. But administratively, it's pretty light. It's not a crazy difficult business. You do have to be comfortable transporting equipment. So, which is why our first batch of Marines were artillerymen, so they were used to driving around with howitzers. So driving around with a 1-ton stand and a trailer was nothing for them. But it's certainly we have people who don't mind um, moving equipment, driving a trailer. You have to be able to fix the thing too. So it comes with spare parts and manuals, but you have to, it's got to be somebody who can roll up their sleeves, read a manual, and fix something.
Yeah. Well, congrats on all the growth. And yeah, just sounds like a really cool opportunity. And so you mentioned some markets that you guys are kind of zooming in on
Yep.
currently, maybe ones that you're already in, but want to kind of expand there. Are there any yeah, just I guess maybe other opportunities, or like what are some of the other opportunities you're seeing maybe in markets that you haven't touched yet, or that you want to touch, or what is AI saying like, hey, like
Yes.
you should check out this particular state or this particular region.
Well, I can start with the good ones where we've already been, where we're really looking for partners. One is Oregon, like Portland has a great convention center. We do business in there.
Okay.
Um, the other is San Jose, California, where work with the convention center, have events there. Um, we we do we moved our headquarters and our warehouse to Allentown, Pennsylvania, and that's a market that this summer we're building out, but we're going to be looking for a franchise partner either later this year or next year, and we're going to build a route to kind of turn over or sell. Um, Denver, Colorado is a market where we've been in the convention center for many years. Um, We've also done historically events in Canada, in Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver, where we have relationships with promoters and the venues. Those are all nice convention centers. We have stand that we've used in Canada and done events during COVID. We stopped and we haven't gone back after COVID, but that's a market where it's probably a couple of markets but very good. And then there's you know, North Carolina is a market that we've serviced for a number of years from the Northeast. Um, Parts of South Carolina, Missouri, where we've done events there, but we don't have a franchisee. But those are examples of kind of, in most geographies we have something available, or in a lot of geographies. We also have couple of franchisees who've been at this for 10 years. At some point they will sell, so, or they will be interested in a transition or maybe selling part of their territories. And we have had a franchisee who already um, bought a territory, built it, and then sold it to one of his employees. So I think that if somebody were to come and say, hey, I live in I'm looking for an opportunity here, and we already have a Wild Bill's franchise, there's probably still opportunities there, either because we haven't sold the whole area, or that the current franchise is some of them have have sold mostly to employees, and then they continue, and they've built out kind of built out other territories. But there's just a lot of room for growth. We do 500 events a year. We probably, the universe is 50,000. I mean, the universe is crazy. So
Yeah, well, that's yeah, it sounds like a lot of opportunity, and yeah, it's a really cool business. What were some of so I mean, it's January 5th as we record this 2026. I know that you were probably writing down your goals, at some point, maybe, during the break, and trying to, figure out what where you wanted to go with this year. What are some of your top goals for 2026 for Wild Bills? Like, as you look out, throughout the course of the year, and, what would you guys like to achieve?
yeah, really I guess one big goal is we're very focused on adding a small number of high quality people into the family. That is our overarching goal. Um, we are not adding too many, because it is, adding franchisees is there's a lot of operational support required, and we want to make sure that we're scaling up our operations as we're bringing on people. So we have three or four that should be starting in the first quarter, and we'll probably do another six to seven later in the year, which is a good pay. That allows us to put a lot of time on people, get them stood up. We have brought on a wonderful VP of Ops, a guy named Chris Norvald, who's an Army veteran, super duper guy, who is really focused on kind of the onboarding process, the training process, the equipment support process. So there's a lot that we kind of inherit. When we bought the business, it had the franchisees, it kind of had a way of supporting them. But when you look and say, oh, we're gonna double this and then triple that, you realize things got to be more formal. We have to have better manuals and procedures. And we're working on right now, online ordering for all our model is, what we sell to the franchisees, the mugs and the syrup, the bibs of syrup. We're automating that whole process just to make it more efficient for them. But it's the focus is the right people, and then internally it's putting in place all the staff processes, training to stand them up. And we would rather go at the pace to have 100% success than go faster and have one. Like, it's what you have, you have 10 successes and one failure, and the one failure just pulls you down so much. So our model is, let's get everybody through COVID. Let's get everybody stood up coming out of COVID on a good footing. Let's bring in people in markets that we feel really confident in, a lot of times because we're operating in the market corporately. And then
Mhm.
let's bring them in at a pace, and it has to be the right person. It really has to be the right person. We have folks come to Allentown and spend 2 days. We go out to dinner with the team, and I had the last time we did this, we had two candidates. We had six of us from corporate, and we had to have it had to be unanimous with all of us that they really wanted to do it, and all of us thought it was a fit. Because starting a business and being an entrepreneur is so hard to be. It's just, as you know, it's so hard. You gotta start out with the right people, the right market, the right intentions, having folks that are financed properly. So we do have we put in place when we bought the company a veteran franchise program. So we discount the fees 50%. We also can provide financing, but we do want people still have to have capital to put in for down payments, capital to put in for working capital. So we want to make sure people are, financially able to, and we're a lot like you think of a restaurant franchise that costs, $1 million to get into, we're in I think our FDD is like 150 to 170, and that's not including the discount. So with the veteran discounts, it's less. And then depending upon the piece of equipment that people use, and is it new or used, it can be less. So we can do this on a good budget, but people definitely need to assume it's a 3-year build. Particularly if you're going into a fresh market, it's going to take time and energy and effort, and you're working really, really hard to, to build something um, that creates a lot of value over time.
Yeah, and and the good news too is, with joining a franchise is you don't have to invent the product, right, as the
Right.
entrepreneur. So, uh, for those of us that have invented products and, figuring out if there's a product market fit, that's a whole nother story. So it is nice to be able to just plug into a system and a product that already has a market and, already has a business model and versus trying to create it yourself. So, um,
Totally. Yeah.
and the mindset that you have as a franchisor is actually probably pretty rare. I know that a lot of franchisors, they're focused on growth and, they get paid royalties. And so they're getting paid off of the top line, not the bottom line. And so, and they're just really interested, it seems like in how many units can we sell or how many stores can this person open up? And, for you guys to have the perspective of, hey, is this the right fit for us? Is it the right fit for you? I think is pretty rare and unique. So it's
It's
great to see
it's the
that.
the benefit of having time on your side, where it's not and not having like I know when we my with my company that I started that I mentioned earlier, and we brought the private equity people in, we did have a fire under our rear ends to move at a certain pace and have certain outcomes at a certain time. Like you didn't have a lot of time, and it's much different when the answer is the team here is very focused on a mission, and it's very people oriented. We do have investors. Most of them are veterans too. We have the majority of them, and very much in it for the mission and in it for the people that we're working with.
Well, really cool what you've built, and congrats again on making it through the dark ages of COVID. I'm glad you have a high tolerance for suck, and
Yeah.
you know, and uh, and everybody and everybody made it through, and so really excited for you. What's the best way for folks to learn more about Wild Bills and connect with you if they'd like to learn more?
Yeah, so they can message me on LinkedIn, Mike Quilty, and our if you Google Wild Bill Soda, you'll get it. We're drinkwildbills.com, but we have um, our website is great for just learning more about the business. But um, you know, available, and Scott, I work weekends, so people can reach out anytime.
All right, and we'll post a link to the website and your LinkedIn profile in the show notes so people can easily connect. And then the franchise opportunity, we did post that in the SABM group last month, and so and we'll include a link to that in the show notes as well, so they can learn a little bit more about that for those that are interested. And Michael, man, it's been great to reconnect with you, and here's to an awesome 2026.
Thank you so much, Scott.